Hello and welcome people to my YouTube channel and now live on Twitch. This is Gunnar Since back again with another Gooner Thoughts episode. Have we got a good one for you today, people? Not only have we got a good show for you, but what on earth just happened today? I woke up thinking this is going to be one hell of a boring day. I had an MOT in the morning, had to wait in a dealership for 2 hours. One of the most hurting things I've ever done, trying to think of what I can do for 2 hours. And, I'm about to bring up what on earth just happened. Right there, people, right there. Not only did, Kevin Campbell follow me, but he now wants a show with Gunnar Since. Gunnar Since does not do anything normal. So, guys, get commenting. Get your suggestions in, because anything goes. I will get Kevin Campbell to do what the people want. Whether it's a ghost chili pepper, an ice bath challenge, you name it, we'll make it happen, people. Because guess what? He said a month, and I'm going to make him regret he said a month, because he's going to be crying every single day thinking, what on earth have I just signed up to? But you know what? I have got every single one of these panelists and many, many more to thank for everything that's happened so far in this journey. And I am going to allow them to introduce themselves because I can't do them any justice. I know, I can announce them, but, that's not the way we go here, people. And I'm going to head it off to the panel. Anthony, do you want to tell us where we can find you? Everything is in the description, so, easy to find.
Yeah, hey, look, Souls, you definitely didn't disappoint me. I was expecting a pretty cool intro, and you lived up to, as always, you lived up to the hype. So, yeah, look, first of all, I want to say thanks a lot for having me on the panel. And look, you've been kind enough to take a lot of time and come onto my panel, and you've been spitting flames left, right, and centre. I've nearly had to buy myself a new laptop now because you've melted half of it. So, yeah, no, looking forward to this tonight. You can find me, as you see below, at Republic of Arsenal. So, yeah, look, I'm looking forward to this.
And then, obviously, we've got a man who he needs no introduction, but I'll let him introduce himself. Go on, Albert. Where can we find you?
Yeah, if to be honest, I thought the intro was going to be longer, if I'm being honest, Gunnar Since.
I've got a whole dedicated video to that.
Yeah, cool. No, but listen. We've had private discussions off the camera, man. They'll continue. Stay in your lane, man, and just do you, and keep the haters at arm's length, man. That's my saying, man. But no, it's a pleasure to be on, man. And yeah, AlbertJTV, if you guys don't know already, Twitter handle AUM57. And as I always say, don't even think about coming to subscribe. Just subscribe, people.
And obviously, a man with tactical analysis, should we say, and our personal therapist who does not charge us a penny. Go off on what can we say and what can we find from you?
Hello. Thanks for having me, Souls. It's a pleasure once again to be sitting with some of you guys. I've sat with Dawesy and Anthony before, and we've usually had some cracking discussions. Hopefully, it's going to be another really good show. It always is when you've got an Arsenal panelist. There's never a grey, dull moment being an Arsenal fan. But for those of you guys that are watching, first of all, if you want to subscribe to Souls' channel, that will be the first thing that you could do, because this guy has been doing wonders in the last week trying to get this panelist group together, trying to get this podcast started. So salute him for that. You can find me on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram at Gunnar Since 96. And I also, as Souls mentioned, I release a podcast after every single game. So the story behind that is after the Burnley game, I was having a meltdown and I thought, what's the best way to try and release all of the stress and anxiety? So I thought, let me try and set myself a podcast where I just speak to myself for about an hour about everything that goes on in the game. So that's what I've continued to do ever since. And that's the Arsenal Therapy podcast. Once again, thanks Souls for having me on.
No worries at all. And then obviously pretty much what has come as a package deal now. You can find us pretty much together on every show, every podcast. A man that needs no introduction. But I'll let him introduce himself. Gary, where can we find you and what do you do?
Hello. Yes, I'm Gary, and you'll see me mostly by the moniker DWTT in the chats and online. So I've got my own little channel that I just started. The the segment that I bring to the fans every after every game is my 5, where I take a look at 5 players and just give you my thoughts on them and a little bit about the game. So check it out, subscribe. Just like you're going to subscribe to this channel, subscribe to mine. The one thing when we had the intro, Saul's, it seemed like a boxing match, and I was like, all right, I hope I can duck the blows when they come. And I've seen you. I've only I've just met you for what, about a month I think it's been since I've seen you. But you've taken what Anthony's done. You said, I can do a little bit better. So I've been so you're doing pretty well. Doing pretty well for yourself. So congratulations on that. And I'm looking forward to the panel. And here we go.
No, thank you very much, dear. You're too kind. And a man whose artwork, is rivaling a lot of, classic arts. A man who I have actually, his artwork just needs a round of applause, man, because that shit needs to be hung on my walls, really. Dawesy, where can we find you, and what do you? I mean, I've pretty much said what you do, but where can we find you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Souls. It's been a pleasure. But I think it's crazy to think I only met all of you guys, really, within the last 2 weeks at the most, and it feels like we've been kind of chatting away for months and months about all things Arsenal. So I think it's great to be on the panel. Great to continue working with you guys, so thank you. And just on Twitter at the moment, so yeah, drop me a follow. Check out my artwork. Let me know if there's anything you kind of want to see, and I'll see what I can do. But let's get it going.
Guys, don't just do that. Go on there and tell him to make this YouTube channel a reality. Come on, people, because we need this guy on YouTube. And just before we get into the main topic, I have got an announcement to make. As Ramadan's coming up, and people know I'm a Muslim, and I believe Farhan as well, you're a Muslim as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So the whole month, coming up I'd say I'm going to launch this in a week's time. I'm going to be promoting charities and organizations. So people, if you have any organizations or charities or movements or anything that you want me to support or give a shout out that people may not know, just let me know on Twitter or in the comments, or just suggest it to me. Or if you are an organization watching, just let me know, because that month it's all about giving. I'm going to set up a Just Giving page or a PayPal. I'm going to get around to doing that. And let's get some people happy. I've always said a smile a day keeps the, depression away. And that's just, my motto in life. But let's get right into it. And, we've got discussions today that, hopefully we can get this Emirates Stadium, because Boris Johnson's just announced 12th of April, I believe it is, lockdown is being lifted and 10,000, maybe 20,000 people are allowed back in the Emirates. And I don't want this toxic fan base in that stadium. I want that Emirates Stadium bouncing. Even if it's 20,000 people, we've got to let those players know that we're here for them. So let's get right into it. Let's change some opinions today, people. Now, the first topic of discussion for me, and what I want to ask the panel is, do we have a captain? Do we have a leader? Or do we need to look at getting one? And this could be outrageous. You can even suggest Xhaka if you want, because I do believe he's got leadership in there. So don't think, just because it's controversial that you can't mention them. So what I am going to do is throw this over to the panel. Does anyone want to go first, or?
I'll go.
Go on.
We're all jumping at the mic.
Yeah. Do we have a captain? Do we have a Tony Adams? Do we have a Patrick Vieira? No, I don't think we've got any of them. But I guess, given what we've had from a captain perspective previously, I think it's maybe slightly unfair to think that we're ever going to replace someone like that. I think that style of footballer maybe has died out a little bit, isn't it? It's haven't quite got those players around anymore. But I guess it depends on what you want from a captain. For me, and I will start off by maybe being a slightly controversial, and we spoke about this on Anthony's channel last week. I think when you look for leadership, you look for someone that is reliable in the sense that he's always going to be available to play. So you really, throughout a league season, you're going to want someone that's there 35 out of the 38 games. Do we have many of them? Probably not. Probably not. We do have quite a few players that tend to pick up niggly injuries, and obviously the current situation with the way last season has ended and this season has started with the lack of break, lack of pre-season, that's obviously going to play a factor. But when I look at that squad and in terms of leadership qualities, I really don't see too many. The only two I do see, three possibly, are Granit Xhaka. I think there was a stat come out the other day about the fact he's played the last 12 games and 90 minutes. I mean, that's phenomenal, man. From a physical perspective, to be able to do that, given the current situation, I mean, that's unbelievable. And I don't, even looking back before that, I don't recall him picking up too many injuries. He's always seems to be pretty available. So that kind of ticks one box for me. The other box I look for is someone that's is always going to be available, in the sense that he's not going to go hiding. And that's the one thing that frustrates me a little bit with Aubameyang, is that he's in front of the camera when things are going well, but things are going a little bit poorly. You don't really see too much of him, and that frustrates me. It seems to be the usual candidates that come out in front, and it seems to be people like Xhaka, people like David Luiz, Kieran Tierney. He comes out, he speaks to the press, doesn't matter what's happened, he's always there in front of the camera, fronting up. So for me, when I look at captains, I think we've got three potential ones in Xhaka, Luiz, and Tierney. The first two worry me slightly because they have got, let's say, a couple of mad moments in them. Both of them have the ability to be able to pick up a red card, give away stupid tackles or penalties, and that doesn't help their cause really. And then the third one is obviously Tierney. I think a lot of people are calling for him to potentially get the armband right now. Is he old enough? He's 23. Hey, listen, Fabregas was younger when he got given it, so I don't think age is a factor. If you're a leader, you're a leader. It doesn't matter what age you are. The only thing that concerns me is that first box of being available for 35 out of 38 games. Is he going to be there for that amount of games? It doesn't look like it. Looks like he picks up niggly injuries, and there's the potential to probably miss 10 to 12 games a season, which isn't ideal. So, listen, we can upgrade on what we've got. Absolutely, but I think for me, from a captain perspective, they're the three that I would look at if they were to change the player that's got the armband. So that's just my thoughts.
And just a thought to throw out here. So a lot of people are asking for Tierney to become the captain, but my question is, does that not destroy team morale? And how important is team morale to the situation? I'm going to throw it over to, let's see, Anthony, go on. You can have your thoughts there. And you've got to now bring the fire. I know I can bring it as a host, but now someone's got to drop this fire now.
You're waiting for me to go full McGregor, aren't you?
I told you, mate, we're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
Hold on. Let me get this Irish flag off the wall for a second. See what we can do. First of all, yeah, I was gonna mention to Sam. Yeah, Sam, I'm barely hanging on right now. I'm just about hanging on in there. I think me and Gary are gonna fight here over this. No, look, I think like Dawesy said it. There's kind of, I'm just saying, for me, there's three guys in the squad that show signs of being a captain and whatever, but I think it sort of shows the lack of options and captains and leaders we have in the team, that these are the three guys. Because Xhaka, on paper, for me, he embodies everything I would want in a captain. He's fit, he's ready to play, he's available, he's there for every single game. He tries, like he gives it his all. Just unfortunately, we know his all isn't always good enough. He has a mistake in him, which we're all fully aware of. He's a trier. He doesn't go hiding from the media when things get tough. He's had his ups and his downs with the fan base, and he's stuck around, So he's obviously a strong character, a strong personality. So on paper, he's everything you want as a captain. I just think the problem is, as soon as he is the captain, I just think the extra responsibility of, that's a heavy armband to carry. And I just think it sort of takes away from his game when he has a bit too much, a bit too much to focus on. And I say this about Xhaka as well, dependent on who he has next to him in midfield. If he's got someone like an El Neni or Ceballos, I feel like he's overthinking his own game, and he's trying to do too much in the way of watching what they're doing. He's sticking beside Thomas Partey, and I think he's a bit more relaxed, and you get to see a different side of Granit Xhaka. So for me, as much as I like his character at times, yeah, I think that ship has sailed in terms of the captain's armband. I'm sure Albert and Gary be happy to hear me say that. But yeah, then there's David Luiz as well. And again, I feel the exact same with David Luiz. I think he's just one of those guys. He does the right job, as in trying to organise people, and he tries to lead on the pitch. The problem is when he's worrying about other people, he's not focusing on himself. So I think he's in the same boat as Granit Xhaka. And Kieran Tierney, I think what it is with Kieran Tierney, and I've been calling for Kieran Tierney as well as a captain. Now, the more I sit around and really think about Kieran Tierney as a captain, I'm not sure if I am partially leaning towards Kieran Tierney as a captain because there's no other real options. He's shown us fight, and he's shown us a bit of desire and a bit of passion. Now, I don't know what he will be like as a leader. Like, we can see his passion and his fight on the pitch, but is he organising his teammates? Is he offering advice on the pitch, or is he just getting stuck in? And I think maybe at the moment he is still young. He's only 23. Right now, okay, you can see he's getting stuck in, and he's having a go at the opposition players, and he's got fire in his belly. Now, whether he can transfer that into leadership in the dressing room and motivate players and that. Now, this is where I think David Luiz and Xhaka are probably better up.
He is Scotland captain over Robertson and the like, so maybe it might be a shout there, but no, I'll let you continue.
Yeah. No, do you know what I was going to say? But I was going to say it's the kind of Scottish mentality. Like, I think Arsenal and the current Arsenal mentality, it's a hard group. It's a tough group to motivate. Like, I don't think it takes an awful lot to motivate a team of fiery Scotsmen. I think they do a lot of that job themselves. Now, I'd like to see him maybe get the role and see how he grows into it. I do think it is probably a little bit early for him, though, just a little bit. But yeah, look, we're really short of options, So, who do you give it to? I'd love to see, as his career progresses with Arsenal, I'd love to see how Thomas Partey develops. I'd love to see, does he come out of his shell a little bit and see maybe how he might go? But I won't say too much more. I'll let someone else get their thoughts in as well.
What I'm going to do, just before someone jumps in, there are a few comments that have come through. So I'll just quickly read them, and then obviously I'll jump into the next person, just because quite a few have come through. So Xhaka shouldn't be starting by the start of next season. A good squad player, but he is part of the reason why we're mediocre. I semi-do agree, and I've always said he is a good squad player. Let me see when the next. Yeah. So Sam says Tierney is 110% guts and desire. He leads by example. I'm sure I have heard him organise the lads on the pitch. I agree with that again. And then obviously on the point when I've made Tierney the captain, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. And I've not watched a lot of Scottish internationals, so I couldn't fully tell you how true or false this is. And then obviously Gooner Gossip TV saying, if Laka stayed at Arsenal, would you consider him as a captain? I personally think he is one of the leaders at Arsenal and is a role model to youngsters. That's very fair. I don't think he's staying. I've heard rumours and, that he's not signing the contracts. I don't know. Obviously, time will tell, because even Balogun is all up in the air and all these rumours we're hearing, so we can't take rumours for facts. Can the panel name every captain in the league, every Prem title winning captain in the last 10 World Cup? We can do that once we've had the discussion.
That's a show in itself, that is.
What I'm going to do is jump onto a debut of the channel before I go to Farhan for his thoughts, because I know he's going to drop some facts and figures and stats. I already know that. So go on, Albert. What have you got to say?
Oh, where do I start? Leaders. Right. Dawesy's right in terms of the candidates that are potentially available. The fact that Louise and Jacques are two of the three is a worry in itself. In regard to Jacques, I think listen, anybody that's seen me speak about this guy on my content, I think I've been quite balanced in comparison to what you see on Twitter world anyway. But the thing is, it's not too long ago when I saw that stat on Sky Sports in terms of the heat map for Granit Xhaka, and that was frightening, man. And even Sabas was on that in terms of the how can I put it, the sort of lack of forward passing, shall I say, lack of progressive passing. So I don't just sort of dismiss that at all. In regards to David Luiz, listen, I think Arteta's gonna live and die by his sword in terms of people like David Luiz and Willian, which I don't think he's doing himself any favors personally. In regards to Kieran Tierney about the captaincy, all this thing about he's too young, to me, it's a nonsense. I mean, if you're going to say he's not going to be the captain because you're worried about his injury record, then, you know, how long's a piece of string? I mean, it can happen. But I think for me, he can lead by example. He's got the passion's one thing, but that's not enough. But Kieran Tierney's got more than passion. He's got end product. He can show leadership by whether that's leading by example or playing on the pitch or just actually being on the pitch. So to me, that to me, the Kieran Tierney thing's a no-brainer. But Gunnar Since, I'm not going to spend too much time on our friend Granit Xhaka and David Luiz because I don't get too carried away when he plays well, and I don't get on him too much when he doesn't play too well because I've seen enough of him in the last 4-5 years he's been here to know that. And I actually don't think he's even, to be honest, I wouldn't even say he's a squad player personally. He's a good footballer, but for me, for the Premier League, I just don't think it suits him. I think he'd probably do wonders in Italy or Spain, but not in this country, mate. And for me, you know what it is with the Xhaka thing, and I'll be surprised if anybody disagrees. There's certain moments that happen in a player's career, and that incident with the Crystal Palace thing at the Emirates, some people ain't going to forgive that. I don't think even Xhaka cares for the club, if you want me to be honest. Why would he? If he's got a beef with the fans, he never came out and apologized when he done what he done. There's a reason for that. So, yeah, the less said about him, for me, the better. I've seen enough in 4-5 years personally. And David Luiz, we know what he's like. You know, he plays better in a free, but we don't play for it at the back. So, Arteta wants to give him another contract. You know what? I'm not going to be there at the front of the queue criticizing when he throws in a clanger because that's what we've seen. So that's all I've got to say, man.
Thank you very much for your insight there. But yeah, a lot of that's fairly balanced actually. I thought you might go in on Xhaka a little bit more, to be honest.
Nah, but, you know what it is? There's plenty of people that can do that, man. That's not about me. I see my own. I always say to people that the thing is, you have the eye test, man. Your own two eyes don't lie to you. I'm not gonna kiss this guy's ass for no reason. And for me, I think he's part of the problem. Why our transition in the midfield is so slow.
Yeah,
Arsenal knew what they was getting when they bought him, Gunnar Since. Someone that's immobile, somebody that can't tackle, somebody that's ill-disciplined. So what would you expecting? And you know the thing that worried me the most as well, just before I finish up. I've seen it on Twitter recently, like you know when they say, "Oh, when players got certain players around them and they perform better," and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, Granit Xhaka. I can understand if you're talking about a Fabregas or a Mesut Ozil getting the players around them or a Sanchez, but if we're talking about getting players to get around Granit Xhaka for him to play better, then we got serious problems.
No, I agree. I don't think we should be looking to build a midfield around him at all. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly read out a few comments again. Laka is a role model and good with youngsters, but he will be sold, which is likely to happen. And with obviously him rejecting a contract renewal for now, his contract is down to 2 years. We can sell him, generate cash, and improve the squad. I think he'd go for like 40 million at top. So that's a lot of money to be generated. Yo-Yo said, sorry, my question was to suggest the captain matters little. Steven Gerrard was a talisman, but Rafa Julia was the most significant to him being successful. which is fair again. I am going to get Farhan's thoughts on this.
Thank you. I think the question is, do we have a captain? And the simple answer is yes, we do. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the captain of Arsenal Football Club. So in some respects, having a conversation about the captaincy, who should be next, it's a little bit meaningless. And I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but what I mean to say that is the captaincy as a whole in the last 10 or so years, I think, has mattered less so than it was in, for example, the Invincible era. I don't remember a real captain, and this all comes down to, how do you actually define what a captain is? What is your definition? What characteristics does a captain have? I think we all have different interpretations of it, and I think that's part of the issue. But for me, if you're asking me what I see in a captain, I see an individual with grit, determination, and an ability to pull 10 men together and to go to battle, to go to war, and to get a result regardless. I do not and I cannot remember a figurehead after Patrick Vieira. I can't even put Thierry Henry in that bracket, because Thierry Henry for me was a fantastic player, a great striker, but did he have the qualities to be a captain on the pitch, leading men, standing up where it mattered? If we're talking about who was the worst captain, and this is the best example to give, because you've got the two extremes, you've got Patrick Vieira on one side, and for me, William Gallas would be right on the other side. And I think about the League Cup finals when we lost against Birmingham, sitting there on his arse, and absolute polar opposites. So, but I do understand why it's an important conversation to have, because Aubameyang's reign will inevitably be coming to an end. Why did Aubameyang get the captaincy? I think it's pretty simple. I think it's pretty clear to see that he was a fan favorite. It was the best way to pull the fans together. I don't see any other reason why you would, other than the fact that he has carried the club for the last 2 years. There wasn't any other candidate there, any clear candidate, especially after what happened with Granit Xhaka. You really want to give it to the safest man, to know that he's not going to do anything to tarnish it, despite the fact that the captaincy today, and I can't name you many captains of Premier League clubs, because of the fact that the symbolism has slowly disappeared. What do I see the captain's responsibility today? Having a chat with the referee now and again, leading the team out for the first whistle. Other than that, do I see any other roles and responsibilities? No, not necessarily. But having said that, we do have someone very, very close to breaking that boundary and getting back to the traditional roots of what a captaincy should be. And I do see that in Kieran Tierney a lot. I see someone who takes initiative, and that's the biggest thing that footballers fail to take on a pitch. And that's why we struggle to see great teams. Man City are one of the very few teams in Europe right now who are a great team, because they have players that take initiative. And the importance of a manager has really grown throughout the years as well. And I do believe this, because as the initiative from the starting 11 players has reduced, the manager's responsibilities has increased, and people are, instead of pointing the fingers at the players on the pitch, we're pointing the fingers at managers, because we're relying on solely Arteta to fix the issues on the pitch. It's as if we want him to get on the pitch and start scoring the goals, when in reality, individual errors has cost us the games that we've lost. So there's only one man for me who takes the reign from Aubameyang when he leaves, or when he retires at Arsenal, whatever he chooses to do, whatever comes by it, and that's Kieran Tierney.
I mean, this is a Gunnar Soul show, so I will have my thoughts as well. I'm not a typical host, so I'll also throw in some opinions. And when we look at that Benfica game, I think we found our leader. I think we found someone who's going to captain Arsenal to the future. And that's got to be Kieran Tierney, because that was a defining moment for me. And I think, Aubameyang for now, I think he needs to be the captain just for team morale. He's a massive personality in that dressing room. And, I've always said team harmony over anything. You can't make decisions that are going to affect that dressing room. Do you know why Unai Emery went? Because he lost that dressing room, and Arteta, unfortunately, for the Arteta house, unfortunately, my guy, the guy's got them smiling. The guy's got them playing with passion, fire, and desire, people. That's why he's not fired yet. That's why we're sat 10th and he's not sacked, because he's got them believing. And that has been shown through Kieran Tierney. That's been shown through even the likes of Granit Xhaka. Even Pepe's now smiling. We've seen him at Leicester with a smile on his face. I can't remember the last time I could say Pepe and smiling in one sentence. You know, as much, a lot more blame is being put on managers, like Farhan said. That is absolutely true, because we're expecting them not to just to be managers and coaches, but to be the leaders and to come on the pitch and motivate. Unfortunately, they've got a tactical area which they need to sit in, and that's not enough for someone to go and motivate. They can only do that. We know when they come out at half-time, first 10 minutes of a game, right? I know the last few have been a bit sloppy. When we come in at halftime, even when we had water breaks, so clearly Arteta is motivating them. But what happens is that's only going to last 10 minutes. After that, you need someone on the pitch to tell them, come on, lads, let's put our heads down and let's move forward. But the main discussion, and I think what a lot of people are here to hear, is I wanted to hear this, and I wanted to talk to, like-minded people, and people maybe who don't agree with the way I think. And people have seen it on, when I did Shino's Arsenal at Jacinho, and I had a massive, rant where pretty much where Kevin Campbell found me. And that's where our interaction continued. And I've spoken at length about this, and I want to ask people, first what I want to ask is what has gone wrong? And another question that interlinks to this is the process, and is Arteta doing things right? Because what I want to know, and I think what a lot of Arsenal fans need to know, is the clarification on what is going on at Arsenal, because we are sat 10th. And I've always said, look, I'm Arteta in, and I'm not happy that we're sat 10th. But let's take that and let's take the results away for a minute, and let's see what is being done, and have we found a system which we can move into the summer transfer window and actually propel ourselves going further. I'm going to go to Gary first on this one.
Can I talk about the captaincy?
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No, no problem.
Yeah, Gary, please. We need to Gary.
Go for it.
No problem. I just, I don't mind going into the process as well when I'm done. But yeah, as far as the captaincy, you saw Anthony bring up the X, and you know what? The one thing that surprised me is when I heard Xhaka talking on the latest interview that he did. Because when I was listening to it, if you take away the actual video and just listen to the audio, that's what a captain sounds like. I don't know what Aubameyang sounds like, but it doesn't sound like that. When he's having an interview and you're listening to what's could be the captain of the team. And I was pleasantly surprised by that, because I'm surprised by that because what I see on the field and what I see kind of with some of his actions, they don't match. And I don't get it. Because if a guy can talk about all the things that are going on in his life and be able to communicate to us like that, and I felt something about it, because it was, he doesn't deserve some of that stuff. I mean, he deserves to be booed when he's, when he makes a mistake and stuff, when he flicks the crowd off. Yeah. But, the other stuff, no. So that part, that part, I mean, is he my captain? I always say he's not my captain. He threw that away. He threw that chance away. Does he get it? You can redeem yourself, but not in a season. not in less than a season. I mean, he needs to, and we see it on the field. He's not the guy that's going to get us there. So, that, what a leader or a captain should do that. Now, as you said, we don't really, the captaincy is really probably a figurehead now. It's like the royal family, right? They used to rule, but they don't rule anymore, right? They kind of sit back and let do shake hands and all that kind of stuff. So I get that part, but I think what Arsenal needs is leadership. So leadership is what we mostly need more than a captain. I mean, Aubameyang has it, but I personally would like him to kind of just hand it off, because I don't think he wants it. He doesn't do anything to say, yes, I'm the captain of this team. I've seen him once in a while talk to the referees and stuff, but not enough to say, look, this is our leader coming in to talk to the referee, and the referee gives him the respect that a captain gets. When he's coming in to talk about something that he doesn't feel is right for his team, he should be able to do that.
Harry.
And we never see that. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Can I ask a quick follow-up question to that?
Okay.
So if we're suggesting that Aubameyang's captaincy is taken away from him or he gives it up, is that going to do more harm or good towards the actual captaincy itself? And like Saul's mentioned before, the actual the morale, and how much disruption is that going to have in the dressing room?
Yeah, that is a touchy thing, but I feel like we need to do something. I mean, or because I mean, when I look at captaincy, that's going to be iffy, and I'm like, okay, if that's going to ruffle feathers per se, I don't really want to do that because the team is fragile as it is, right? But what I do feel like should probably happen is I think Kieran Tierney and Leno, for me, should be the vice captains because one of them has the leadership. I know Leno isn't as vocal as we want, but I was listening to him in the Leeds game. Is it the Leicester City game? And he is out there communicating, not as much as I think Emmy did, but he is out there communicating. I feel like he needs to come out of his shell because that's what we need him to be a little bit more, controlling out there because that's what a lot of the goalkeepers do. So those would be my two candidates, at least for vice captaincy, so that when Aubameyang does step down or when he's not available, then you've got at least one that's always going to be there and one that I feel is the leader of the team, when he's healthy. The trick is we want to keep him healthy. So that's a big issue there. So those would be my two. I mean, the things that, like I said, Xhaka, he could have been the captain, but there's a couple of things he's done that just you can't come back from. But yeah, I like I said, I was impressed by the video, and it kind of shocked me because I'm like, this isn't, when I saw him out there playing with Guendouzi, and I saw Guendouzi kind of mimicking him in the sense that they were a walking yellow just waiting to happen, like a little bit out of control. And I was like, if that's what you're doing to Guendouzi, then that's not going to work for us because we need a leader to be able to bring these guys along and show them the ropes as opposed to here are my bad habits. And the next thing you know, they're doing the same things. And I'm like, that's not what I see. That's not what I like about, that's not what I would want out of a captain, somebody that you can follow. I mean, Tierney is probably on that far scale, and because he's got the fire. He's got the fire. The whole lead situation, that's a captain going too far. And for me, I think it was Xhaka was pushing him away at one point, if I recall. If he's got captaincy in him, the last thing he's doing is pushing him away. He grabs him by the shoulder and say, "Go to the locker room now," because that's what a captain would have said at that point, especially if he felt like, I don't want you getting in trouble, right? I don't need you getting a red card, getting suspended. Nah, you know what? They know what they did. If he was the captain, he would go back and tell those guys, "Look, we know what you did. That's why he's hot. He's hot because of what you guys did." That's what a captain would do. And he could have done that. And, that's what we were looking for. We don't need leaders to have the armband because Aubameyang, who knows where he was? He was around smiling during that time. And we needed somebody, even the vice captain was, both vice captains were just, pally when you've got a guy who's got, he's crazy, right? KT went crazy during that game. But that's, those are the things that, we need leadership. And even for the, for those players that we have, they're not showing the leadership that I would expect, especially for those that have been around for a while, or the team actually looks up to, right? The team voted Xhaka as a captain, so there's responsibilities with it. Same thing for Aubameyang. He needs to talk all the time. I want to hear his voice all the time. I barely get to hear the videos, the after game interviews that happen, but when I do, I kind of want to hear the captain and him to be out there most of the time. 90% of the time, the captain should be talking, especially if he's playing. So
sorry, guys. I'll add further to what you're saying. I think for me, when I see Aubameyang in terms of the captaincy, I think the red flag for me, and you guys remember it, and I blame Arsenal for this actually. When he did that interview before the North London derby, I could not believe they put that out. I mean, that's the club captain. I mean, I couldn't believe they put that out. That wasn't a good reflection, man. And what Gunnar Since 96, what he's asking Gary about in terms of the captaincy, I think if Arteta was going to be brave and make the decision to say to Aubameyang, you know what, things are happening outside football. that was when the change should have been made. But it's gone now. That point in time is gone. If he's going to make the change, whether it be Tierney to be captain or somebody else, that was the point to do it. And actually, I think Aubameyang would have said, you know what? He might not have come out and said it publicly, but in his head, he'd been thinking, you know what? Thank God.
Yeah.
Seriously, man.
Yeah.
I agree with Gary. I don't see enough of Over wanting the armband. I think it was given to him as a stopgap purely because of what the rest of the guys have said, that he was the one guy that's loved by the rest of the squad. He's loved by the fans. It kept everybody happy for that short period of time. The one thing I do slightly disagree with is that we've been making decisions in the club for far too long that focus just on the short term and just their quick fixes. So give it to Aubameyang. If he's got it for 12 months, he's got it for 12 months. Then you give it to someone else. Then you end up giving it to someone else. For me, we have to if we're gonna trust the process and we're gonna really get behind Mikel, then we need to start making decisions for the long term. And when you're doing that, and the age has to come into the factor. So for me, Tierney fits all of those bills. The only one that I'm concerned about is obviously the fitness. But as Albert said, anybody can get injured at any time for any period of time. So you're always going to take that risk, and it's absolutely true. So I don't see any reason. But you can't take it off Aubameyang. He needs to be seen to relinquish it, because I think it's never a good look, is it, when anybody loses an armband for whatever reason. But if he comes out and says, look, I just want to focus on my football, I want to get back scoring goals, you know, this is a pressure that maybe is just... I completely agree. But we just need to start looking at the longer term and make a decision for someone that's going to have that armband for the next 5-6 years and really kind of grow into that role. And kind of lead by example. And when you're looking at that, unless we go out and buy someone, you're only really looking at Kieran Tierney. You're not really looking at anybody else. There are no other candidates for me that fit that long-term kind of bill, if you like. So, but we'll see.
You know, there was some good, interesting topics about the captaincy there, and obviously leading on to it leads on to kind of one of the main topics, like I just said, obviously before I forgot Gary spoke, hadn't had his chance to speak. He's having some Wi-Fi issues, so obviously hopefully he's back soon. But like I was saying, you know, what's gone wrong this season, and also linking into this, I wanted to talk about, have we got it right? Because obviously season's not over. Is top four a possible? Well, not top four, but is top six a possibility? And also, have we now found the process which we can trust? And can we give Arteta the next season or the summer to get things right? Because there's been some very interesting quotes that have come out today that apparently all the summer transfers and what they're planning to do, because obviously climates today with the pandemic, with everything that's gone on, we don't know what's going to happen. So obviously things can still change. But I wanted to obviously throw this to the panel. This is more of a discussion, so I won't be like, oh yeah, now you have your say. So you can always jump in at whatever time you want. And what I want to tell is, because there's a lot of negativity going around social media, Arsenal fans in general, and obviously trusting the process, not trusting the process, Arteta in, Arteta out. I want to ignore all that. I don't want this Arteta in and Arteta out discussion, because I've done that before, and that's not really what I'm focusing on today. I just want to ask you people, what do you think the process is, or is there even a process to trust in the first place? So obviously I'll throw this out to the panel. Who would like to go first?
Do you guys mind if I start?
Yeah,
No, go for it, mate.
Right. I just want to start by saying that it's so easy. If there's one thing I've learned from this test, it's that it's so easy to blame the manager. It is way too easy, and I almost feel like it's lazy. It's so lazy of us fans to automatically get all the problems in this football club, put it in one bin bag, and chuck it at Mikel Arteta. We need to really cast our minds back to when he was first appointed. Not even then, actually, when the talks were of him potentially being our manager when Arsene Wenger left. Because those were the first signs those were the first reactions that we could give of news that Arteta could potentially be Arsenal's manager. He was shortlisted, not sure whether he was interviewed or not. I think he was, and the executives at the time decided that he wasn't ready. But the fan base went in a sort of a bit of a frenzy. Arteta, what on earth's going on? What do you mean? And then obviously we had Unai Emery, which didn't work out. And then we finally got the appointment of Mikel Arteta. And there are so many variables and factors that we need to consider when we talk about this man, because we need to understand that this man is an amateur. He is not an experienced coach. He doesn't have the tools at his disposal that other managers have in the Premier League. He is Pep's right-hand man. But having said that, he is a very, very intelligent human being. He is clued up on football. His background, having moved from Barcelona to Rangers to then the Premier League, he has such a fascinating story. And I think it all comes together into morphing the individual that we see. An individual with a very high football IQ who knows exactly the type of style that he wants to play. He spent 2 years, 3 years, I don't know how many years it was, at City under the leadership of arguably at the time the best manager in the world. And then we're led to the other factors around Arteta, not the man himself, but the things that he's had to deal with. After winning the FA Cup, the boys would normally go away to have a proper break and then to come back to have a proper pre-season. They didn't have a proper break. They didn't have a proper pre-season. Psychologically, I don't know what kind of impact that would have on them, but for us to be indoors throughout this pandemic, it has opened up our eyes to many different things, right? So you can only imagine what these players are having to go through, knowing that this is the only break that they really get. It's almost like being in school. You look forward to summer holidays because you know you're going to get 6 weeks to go and do whatever you need to do. They didn't get that. New players that came in potentially weren't able to settle in properly. The club weren't able to do the transfers. They weren't able to carry out the incomings and the outgoings as efficiently as they should have. The whole saga with William Saliba is the perfect example to show what kind of circus act that Arsenal were running. A player who should have been sent out on loan ASAP, but was kept at the club and was not utilized and was instead wasted. 6 months of his career wasted at the most pivotal time for a young player. And I say the same about Eddie Nketiah. And the comments were really interesting from what Arteta had to say about him. The fact that he's to blame, the fact that he's wasting himself. And I got the impression that he will be sold because he's obviously not good enough to play for Arsenal Football Club, but any player of that age, 19, 20, 21, those are his peak years to get the development to the absolute maximum. So those are some of the factors, but the most important factor, in my opinion, is COVID itself. And we are seeing the repercussions today, right now, this very night. Sheffield United beat Aston Villa is a bit of an awkward example to give, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that West Ham United sit 4th, Leicester City sit 3rd, United sit 2nd, City sit 1st, and how many points are they ahead? 15 odd points, something like that. The point I'm trying to make,
15 now.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is that, and I get the counter argument. Everyone's facing COVID. You can't use that excuse. Well, I can, and I'm sorry, I will. Because not everyone reacts to COVID the same way that Arsenal Football Club does. Some of those players maybe thrive off having fans. Some of those players maybe thrive off not having the pressure. Some organizations and teams maybe thrive off having the pressure of needing to exceed, needing to get top 4, needing to win a trophy. Some of those clubs might thrive under no pressure, no fans. I mean, West Ham are a prime example. If fans had been in stadiums, if the normal cycle had continued, would a team like West Ham United be sitting where they are? Would Leicester be sitting where they are? It's all hypothetical, and it's all something worth considering. And so when we talk about, is Mikel Arteta the right man? What has gone wrong at Arsenal? There are so many factors, but ultimately, when it boils down to it, have we seen change and have we seen positive change at Arsenal Football Club? Are we seeing Arsenal moving in the right directions? If you're asking me, I'll say absolutely. I believe the football is better. I believe the leadership is better. I believe there's a clearer direction and there is clearer communication between the fans and the executives. I don't remember a time, even during Wenger's time, where there was a clear-cut communication between the fans and the boardroom up until
And
now.
just before you continue, because you've touched
I'm actually
on the
done,
football.
so go on.
No, sorry. Just before you, because obviously you touched on the football. I was just looking for this tweet, and shout out to Baz because he's done all the work for me, and I've been using this as well as just to back up the point I'm making, not necessarily make the point. But I'm going to put it on the screen here. Arsenal's league form since Christmas and changing to a 4-2-3-1 formation. We've played roughly 12 games. It may have changed at the time of the tweet. 7 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses, accumulating 23 out of a possible 36 points, scoring 22 goals and conceding 9. Obviously, like we've all said, there's still a long way to go. But the reason why I brought this tweet up is not necessarily to say that. It's just to say, have we found a system that we can trust?
Sorry, I'm just going to end it on one last thing.
Yeah.
Arteta, what he's doing right now is something that is quite unprecedented. He's coming with such a bullish approach. The January transfer window was just one example of how extreme he's going with things. The style of football has been changed. The formation has been changed. The approach in the way we play football has been changed. The intensity and the things that it requires from these players has changed. Does it take time to implement these changes and to perfect it? It's inevitable. So of course there's going to be bumps in the road. Of course there's going to be periods where we're playing really well, we're not playing really well. I was under the impression that most Arsenal fans had accepted the fact that because we had this rookie manager, there was always going to be a period where we're going to do well and we're going to do really badly. But all of a sudden, I feel like we have become this greedy, self-serving club. Like, we need victories now. We need trophies right now. Forget the long haul. Forget trying to build something. But that's my 2 cents on that.
I think it's. There's probably not much more I can add on the process side of things, but I just want to touch on Sol's first question about what's gone wrong. I think you can look back nearly 15 years to find out what's gone wrong. I just think the second that we moved from Highbury, obviously there was big promises about us being able to compete with the biggest squads in Europe, biggest teams in Europe, become a European giant, if you like. It's not really happened, has it? And it's whether we were fed false promises by the Kroenke family. They built the stadium based on the fact that it would earn them more money. Certainly looking from the outside in, that seems to be one of the most logical reasons as to why they move stadiums. Because I think if anybody gave us the option of going back, I think 99.9% absolutely would. We can all agree it probably wasn't worth it looking back at it now. But this has been a slow, steady decline since that happened, and it culminates in poor investment in players. When you look at people like Mustafi, and just before people think I'm a kind of a Xhaka lover, I absolutely am not. There is definitely many things that he could do better. I was merely focusing on the leadership qualities, but I wouldn't have him in there. There's an opportunity to upgrade that central midfield. You've got one piece of the puzzle in Thomas Partey. Let's find someone else that can really partner him and drive us forward. But for me, what's gone wrong, I don't think it's fair to put any of that on Mikel. He's trying to turn around a 15-year decline and trying to end it as quickly as we can, because I don't think anybody expected us to drop off quite as bad as we have done since Wenger left, because obviously looking back at it now, he did an unbelievable job consistently getting that Champions League football, which in hindsight, again, probably didn't do us any favours. We probably needed to drop out of Europe sooner to force the Kroenke's hand to really maybe say, look, do we want this club to be successful, or are we just wanting this just for the money? Because it certainly seems like that was their prime motivation behind owning the club, because they certainly don't look to care about the club. So I think looking back at now and what the process is, I think Mikel's kind of started the process. I don't remember a club being as bad at selling players as Arsenal have over the last 10 years. Absolutely shocking the amount of money and players that we've let go that were worth 30, 40, 50 million pounds and they've walked out the door for nothing. It's I don't look at any club that's been run like that. You can look all the way across Europe. What was that stat about Benfica making like over €1 billion on their players over the last decade? I think it was. That's how you run a club.
Yeah, me and Anthony spoke to a Benfica fan, and he said that even this summer was the most they've ever invested back into the squad. Yeah. And he was saying that obviously they've had some fantastic young players come through, and they probably have, like I say, he said like half a season, and then they'll look to sell them on. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, no, carry on, Paul.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at the players that we've sold, I think if you look aside from probably Iwobi and probably Oxlade-Chamberlain, where both of those two, I think we've got probably more than they were worth, both of them. So I think those two were good deals. But aside from that, I think the Cronkies obviously have always gone by the if you earn it, you spend it, and it's as simple as that. And the problem is we haven't been able to earn it because we've been so poor at managing players' contracts. So that's a big problem. And obviously that's not helped Mikel either, in the sense that he's probably not got the financial backing. And then obviously from what Farhan was saying about COVID, no fans, financially, that's going to have a huge impact on us as well. So for me, when I look at the process, it's around getting rid of these players that are not good enough to play for the club. I think he's made a very, very good start on doing that. There's still a few more to go, certainly a few more to go, but I think he's made a good start in the players that he's got rid of. And I think when you look at the stories and the rumours about Kolasinac and Mustafi and the issues that they're causing already over at Schalke, it appears that we've kind of got rid of two of the really bad apples there. So I certainly don't want to see Kolasinac back anytime soon. And so I think he's kind of 50% into the way of kind of giving himself a clean slate to start from, because I think that's what he needs. He needs a squad of his own players to then build and implement his process. And I think until we've seen kind of 12 to 18 months of him being able to do that, I think then we'll know, honestly, whether he's the right man for the job. Because if he's got his own squad, he's got his own players, and we're still sat 10th, then you've got to be asking questions, and then it becomes, for me, a more serious discussion. But we have to find a different way to compete, because we're not run by a multi-billionaire that's just going to give us a blank checkbook every transfer window. So for me, we need to try and do something a little bit different to close that gap. And whether that means we give someone like Mikel 3-4 years to really try and build a solid foundation and have something to build from, and we see where it goes, because I certainly don't want to turn into a Chelsea sacking managers every 18 months and just hope for the best, because it's certainly not a model I associate Arsenal with. We've always acted slightly different to that, well, very different to that. And as a fan, I don't think I could enjoy that, just not knowing where the next change is going to be 6 months down the line. So yeah, it's a huge job for Mikel. And it's a huge job for someone that, like we've all said, has got very, very limited experience. And really, we're hoping for the best, in the sense that some of the top coaches and have said very, very complimentary things about what Mikel brings. We all saw the feedback from the City players when Arteta left about how much he helped nurture them, and Sterling, all these kind of players that really had an association with Mikel. So I guess we just need to hope that builds into fruition, really, and really, if it does, I think we're on to an absolute winner. But I think for me, he needs another 12 to 18 months of a kind of a normal season to really give him an opportunity to get his own players in and see what he can do.
So you see, in terms of the question that you asked at the start there, like what's gone wrong? Like, I don't think anything has actually gone wrong. I think the question is, what has gone right? Like, if you look at everything from the beginning of the Arteta reign, the fact that what went wrong was the fact that they hired a guy with no previous managerial experience. What went wrong was giving a guy a squad that, you know, has players that Arsene Wenger couldn't get the best out of, that Unai Emery couldn't get the best out of, you know, seasoned, proven coaches couldn't get the best out of Granit Xhaka and Hector Bellerin. Like that's where we went wrong. What went wrong is giving him complete control of the team as the full manager this season. I'm not, as I keep saying, I keep stressing, I'm not here to defend Arteta. I'm not Arteta's biggest fan. My view is whatever is best for Arsenal Football Club is what I will get behind in the end. I can see things in what he's trying to do that I can fully get behind, and I can see, you know, I can buy into, you know, things that he's trying to do, and I can also kind of sit back and say, well, look, this is what he has at his disposal, this is what he's been left with, and this is what he still has to do. So I can kind of have an all-round view of everything. And as I said, you know, what went wrong was giving him this job, because this job is bigger than I think most managers in world football. It's a massive, massive job. So I think what's going right is the fact that we are even mid-table, because, like, let's be fair, it's not good, but what he's been left with and what he's expected to do, this could be a hell of a lot worse. So you have to sit back and look at what he's trying to do. I don't think it's fair to say, look, we're mid-table, it's not good enough. Like, we wanted him to recognise who the bad eggs in the squad were, and he did that, and he's got rid of them. He's got rid of Guendouzi, he's got rid of Kolasinac, Mustafi, Ozil. We wanted him to clear the wages off the books. He's got rid of Socrates. He's got rid of all these high earners who are, you know, deadwood. We wanted him to do that, and he's done that. We wanted him to identify, you know, a new type of a target for the club. He's brought in Odegaard. You know, this is a different style of player. You know, he recognised that we need a creative type of player, and we wanted Arsenal to be more clever in the transfer market, because look at the likes of Pepe and that coming in, it wasn't value for money. We're starting to do that. You know, we brought in short-term loan deals, you know, Matt Ryan and Odegaard. We were identifying, you know, younger, more talented players, Gabriel and the likes. And then, okay, we got our kind of talismanic sign in Thomas Partey. He's doing the things that people are calling for, yet it's still not good enough. And I think there has to be a little bit of give and take. Like, you can't expect a guy to clear out his squad, change the mentality around the whole club while he's learning all of this, you know, in his first full season. You can't expect him to do these things and suddenly be competing for top four. Like, come on, like, it's just not realistic. You have to kind of give him time to do. If he can do 2 or 3 of the jobs on that list this season, that sets him up for a better season next season. I think we have to accept, look, we might miss out on European football this season. If it means, you know, he's cleared the books, he has money available for the summer, he now has a different style of transfer target. You know, we move away from, you know, the giving big contracts to guys like Willian who are past it. You know, we've been there, we've done that. Hopefully he's learned his lessons now. Hopefully, look, if we do miss out on Europe, I'll take the hit, no problem, if it is for the good of the club going forward. You know, I don't expect a guy to come in and transform everything, you know, from top to bottom the way we ask him to, and then suddenly turn around and go, well, sorry, you only finished 10th, see you later, we'll bring in someone else. It's like he's doing the job we've asked.
Is it? Do you think it's a loss of the fans' sort of because obviously people are now going to say, are we lowering our expectation? Are we being realistic with how big this job is? But then also kind of losing sight of what we expected a manager to come in and do. But obviously, that's just a thought just to throw out there as well.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, realistically, what did any of us expect this manager to do with this squad? Realistically, did anybody hand on heart expect us to be challenging for top 4? You know, with an inexperienced coach, with Granit Xhaka and Bellerin and Mustafi and all these guys in his team when he took over. Were we really expecting that? You know, like realistically, like, who did he bring in? Who did he bring into the team? Like, you know, okay, Gabriel and that looks good, but like at the time, we didn't know he was Premier League quality. Pablo Mari, all these guys, like this is still like, I know people do not want to hear this. This is at least a 3 to 5 year transition to get this anywhere near we want it to be. And that might not even be top 4. That could be consistently, you know, hitting Europa League. This is a big change. You know, this can't be done overnight. Like I've said it before, like we're not Man City. You can't just turn around and go, you know what, that was a poor season. Let's throw 200 million at it for next season and we'll get it right. We can't do that. You know, we operate a different way. We have our self-sustaining model. And look, if you're going to point the finger at one man and criticize one man, it's got to be Stan Kroenke. He's the man who holds the power to change all this for us in the morning. If we want to operate a different way, he's the man who holds the cards to be able to do it. You know, Arteta is the figurehead, and he must be, I'd say at times he must be going home banging his head off the wall saying, you know, what are these people expecting from me? Like, I don't think it's a case of lowering your expectation as a fan, what you want as a fan, because believe me, I want us to be in the Champions League and I want us to be competing against Real and Barcelona and all the top sides. I want that. The thing is, I'm realistic to accept that's not what the club are going to give me. And okay, you could argue, well, you don't have to settle for that and accept it. But at the end of the day, if the club is going to operate the way it's going to operate, we are going to be mediocre. And this is just the reality of it. So, like I said, I'm not saying, look, Arteta is the man and you have to stick with him and, you know, he's the guy that's going to do it for us. But I can see what he's trying, and I can see the tools at his disposal or lack of tools at his disposal. And I'm willing to give him a chance. You know, I'm willing to give him time. And look, next season, I think, will tell us an awful lot of what we need to know in terms of Arteta and whether he might be the man to bring us forward. But look, I just think, I'll wrap it up now. I'm rambling on a bit here, but I just think, look, to be fair, he's basically got a checklist this season. And for me, he's ticking off a lot of what's on my checklist, you know, of get rid of these guys, start bringing in this type of a player, start implementing, you know, this kind of new culture in around the club. For me, he's ticking off a lot of the checklist. I'm not realistically expecting him to be able to complete the checklist in one season. Like I said, I'm fully aware that there's an awful lot of work needed here. And look, he might get 2 seasons of chipping away at this checklist before maybe a more experienced man might have to come in and take over the rest of it. I fully accept that. But I'm willing to give him at least next season.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you said. Obviously, you can't expect any manager to come in, especially with the board behind them and how incompetent they can sometimes be, to change everything within a couple of seasons even. But I'll throw it over to Albert. You know, have you got anything? What's your thoughts on the whole situation?
That's quite cathartic listening to you guys talk before, man. But, yeah, Gunnar Since, you know what it is, mate. Dawesy, you make the point. Yeah, since we made the move to the Emirates. So what I would say during that period is, I'll take you back to the Europa League final against Chelsea. 7 or 8 of those players that started that game are still at this football club, I think.
Yeah.
That's a massive problem.
Yeah.
Because we know they're not good enough. Mentality, we can sit here and talk about that to the cows come on. We know that. We've seen it. We don't make too many European finals in recent years, so you understand that was a big game. But the thing is, Arteta's got that experience, right? And we're going to appoint him even before we appointed him. Edu is not experiencing the role he's at now. Vinay's been at the club for 10 plus years, and in the role he's got now, he isn't experienced. So you've got the 3 key figureheads at a club at the size of Arsenal that are inexperienced. Before the start of the season, before I mentioned before the start of the season, the whole process thing, if you look, if anybody's seen any content on my channel, I don't even mention the word process. I don't think I've mentioned it once. I don't care. You can get a tag team of Klopp, Pep, as long as they get the job done, get the job done. You know, that's the way I look at it. I don't look into the ins and outs of process and whatever. We've seen the horror show for 10, 15 years under 3/4 different managers, by the way. If you include Freddie in at the interim. But with Arteta, listen, I've seen some exceptional number twos, fantastic number two coaches. Brian Kidd, Paul Clement, different class. Steve McLaren, very good number two. You know, that number twos don't always make good managers, man, or coaches. But what I will see with Arteta, I've seen a sprinkling. I've seen a little bit to say, you know what, with a bit more time, a bit more experience, maybe not even at Arsenal, he's probably going to be a top level coach. You know, I mentioned sort of a wider scale, sort of Gunnar Since. I might be going a little bit away from the subject, but I mean, I look at a lot of clubs.
Go for it.
Yeah, I look at a lot of clubs, mate, and I'm not saying football fans we have to agree with it, but you know, you look at a Nagelsmann getting a job at 28. We had Carl Robinson in this country, you know, getting a job at MK Dons at 28, 29. Gerrard, Rooney, Lampard. It's not the ideal way I would want to go personally, to give a player or to give a guy a job with no managerial experience. I mean, to me, that's nuts. Who does that? There's even some guys that are experienced that have got, who are fantastic players who've got, you know, who don't even get a look in terms of a job, i.e. Sol Campbell, for example. But back to sort of your question, you know, and also as well, we've got a new, you know, a new director of football operations in Richard Garlick, who's got a massive job, because contracts, you know, everyone thought everything was going to be sorted when Who's Farmy came in. We have done things, and we've been a laughing stock, to be honest, mate. You know, it's not. Listen, I'm not no expert, but listen, there was whispers many years ago. Agents, when they used to speak about Arsenal in terms of transfers, recruitment, they thought we was a laughing stock. That speaks volumes, man. Like, I don't find it funny. Like, you know, you made a good point about the Emirates thing, right? Because I said it on, I don't know, Dawesy, you might have been on the same channel with me. I can't see Arsenal winning the Premier League in the next 10 years. Now, that might horrify some Arsenal fans, but it's the truth, man. Like, Mikel Arteta, he might get long enough to get a couple more transfer windows in, but if you're talking about in terms of longevity, 3-4 years down the line, it's not going to happen. Like I'd said before the start of the season, we're not going to get top 4. Listen, you can bring in a Thomas Partey, fantastic. If you have not got the players around him for him to flourish, it's pointless. Yes, we have a spine of a team now, but even with that, they need work. That's Leno, Gabriel, Partey in the middle, Aubameyang. You know, you've not been great this season, but and also as well, we talked about leadership in the first part of your show, right? Leadership has to come from the top, and it filters down. We haven't got that because we know we have an owner who doesn't have a love for football. He doesn't. His priorities are elsewhere. You know, it's gonna hurt Arsenal fans, but we are a business to chronicle. He's a businessman. He don't have to put his money in. Why does he have to put his money in? It's his money. That's why these guys are businessmen. You know, they don't use their own money to the days of Abramovich and Sheikh Mansour. Trust me, even these guys are thinking, you know what? I might have to hold back the purse strings a bit, you know, like, you know, might have to start talking to a few more banks and whatever, because they're not going to do it anymore, mate. Forget COVID. Even before that, they're going to look at it now. That obviously the COVID thing is not going to help. But listen, man, I don't get caught up in the process thing, man. Like, I just want Arsenal to get back to competing firstly. Listen, we're not going to get... Listen, in a cup competition, you've always got a puncher's chance. Hence the reason why I won the FA Cup. And I think possibly that clouded some of the Arsenal fan base is thinking we're going to get top 4. Because those are 2 isolated games, man. The semi-final, final. Anything can happen in them games. But we finished 8th for a reason last season, man. With 2 different managers, experienced or not. Now, I don't think we get top 4. And to be honest with you, people say, you know, it's a different season and there's different results. 100% understand that. But we're not good enough to capitalize on that. That's the problem. And it filters from the top down. Leadership. We talk about captains. We haven't got leadership at the realm, man. And that's the problem, my friend.
Albert, just a follow-up question.
Yeah.
would you be therefore more happy with a sort of a blueprint that Chelsea follow, where they're a bit more ruthless? If you're not doing the job correctly, if you're not winning us the top trophies, the Premier Leagues and the Champions League, 9 to 12 months down the line, bye bye.
What I would say to that's a good question, mate. Like what I would say to that is there's different ways of being ruthless, man. It's not just the Chelsea model. I mean, like Dawesy said about the recruitment, some of the players who've had this football club have been terrible. And I'm being polite by saying terrible. They're not good enough to wear the Arsenal shirt. I mean, Arsenal fans need to get away from hammering each other and arguing a toss about this player should be playing because he's a captain of this country. No, if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. Period. The thing is, Arsenal fans win it both ways, right? You guys might disagree. They'll say, oh, we need to get better quality, for example. Oh, no, but this player's a good squad player. Well, Rob Holding was going to go out and loan to Newcastle at least before the start of the season. When he walked out with a captaincy against Everton, Arsenal fans were having a meltdown. Now, all of a sudden, it makes sense to give him a contract because we can get more money for him. Do me a favor, we paid 2 million for him. We're going to make a profit on him anyway if we sell him. But there's always a narrative of, but he's been injured. But, do you want better or do you want to keep the guys that have been here for 4 or 5 years to get us top 8 football? Ask yourself the question.
Just on that Holding thing, I think the reason why they gave him the contract is to protect his value more than actually needing him for the long-term solution. But I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but I think what they're trying to what I think they're trying to do anyway is come away from the mistakes of the past where they're allowing these sort of contracts to run down to basically their final years, where they could have gotten like 30, 40 million. They're only now going to get, let's say, 10 million, 15 million because they're desperate to sell them or try and recoup even £1 million for that player because that's just the situation we put ourselves in.
So Gunnar Since, sorry to cut. Sorry, bro. You know what it is. I think the fact of the matter is, right, as long as these guys are still owners of the club, we can't trust this ball as far as we can throw them. It's not too long ago, mate, when Raul Snelly gave that famous interview with Laura Woods talking about if players go down to the last 2 years of their contract, we're going to sell them. Why is Lacazette still here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think with the Lacazette situation, obviously, I think Arteta's kind of come out and kind of said what he wants to do now, and I think he's basically got both feet out of the club now, and I think Lacazette is one of those that comes across to me anyway as a professional, and he will do his job until he's out. And I think obviously he's now going to be playing for a move, so he will try to do as best he can. But what I will do is let Gary have a talk before we go off, onto a different conversation. He's biting his tongue. I can see it there.
Yeah, it's just I mean, everybody had some good points. I mean, and I guess I'll try to pick some things that we haven't discussed. I mean, I think like you said, the KSC basically is the culprit for everything now. I don't think they were before. I think they are now because they are fully in control. As we said, this is not this isn't a Stan issue. This is an Arsenal issue that's been happening for too long. Arteta is the easiest choice for me to change because that is just one person. But in general, I would rather see somebody, 1 or 2 levels above Arteta, basically, who is respected in football, that can manage a team and get them going in the right direction, where they handle it, where they have a plan to handle pretty much every aspect of the club. I don't feel like we have that right now. I could be wrong, but I don't feel like we have that. We don't have that figurehead, at least internally. I don't, we're not going to hear it, but I feel like that's what's missing. The heartbeat, basically, somebody pumping the blood to all the parts that need it. I think it's just, everybody's doing their own thing, and I don't think there's a plan for every, that's going to get Arsenal back. I'm not Arteta out or in. I'm more Arsenal in, right? That's kind of what I am. So I want something good for Arsenal. If that means Arteta has to go, then he has to go. That means, and they're doing, like you said, they're doing all these things to clean up the mess. But if that's the case, and then turn around, here comes the summer window, and they don't have any money. They can't sell anybody. who would you rather have, a seasoned veteran manager coach who's been doing this for 5 to 10 years, or somebody in their second year, finishing up their second year? That's that's why Arteta might be the easy choice to go, because that's that's the easiest thing you can do right now. But I think there's levels above him that need to be fixed as well. I mean, that could be everybody. I feel like if they did bring in a director of football, not football operations, but football, that they could possibly let Arteta go, not because he did anything wrong, just he's not the right. He just not the right fit. Just like we looked at a lot of players on the field and we said, you know what? They're just not the right fit for us anymore. Xhaka isn't the right fit for us anymore. If he goes, we're not going to miss a beat, especially if we get what we want. So it's not, he has some good qualities. He has some bad qualities. Maybe just not a right fit for us. And I think that's the problem when we try to sell our players. They know we don't want them. Once they know,
just on that one, Gary.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit. I'm not going to say it's fair what you're saying, but I'm going to say it's a little bit harsh in my opinion. The reason why I'm saying that is because you're saying that there's players who aren't good enough, but then how do you think because we've had experienced managers who are veterans in Wenger and in Emery who have been in these situations where they've gotten clubs from kind of, I wouldn't say from failure points. I know Wenger is more, obviously came to Arsenal. They were still in their domination period, but especially Emery. Emery has done things like this in the past in terms of from Villarreal, Valencia, Sevilla, and he's always that kind of, especially in Spain, he's that man who gets teams from like that sort of 15, 16, 17, all the way up into Europe and potentially even top 4. So we've done that. We've tried the experience, man, but it's a bit harsh to say it didn't work, but I just think he just didn't fit the culture. And I think with Arteta, he does fit the culture and he does have that understanding with the players to maybe get that extra bit out of them. And I think what Arteta's done in terms of what Albert said is being ruthless with the players. Now, Ozil won the battle against Emery, but Arteta came in and said, nah, you ain't winning it over me. So I see a lot in Arteta that I believe there's time to be given to him, because we all said we wanted Deadwood out and we wanted like the likes of Socrates, Kolasinac, Mustafi, and the high wages gone from the club, like these high earners who have caused us not just trouble because of themselves, but just simply because of what they're earning. Like Aaron Ramsey, for example, is the example I use. He only went because of Ozil earning 350 or 300,000 pounds, whatever the reported figure is, and he wanted to be the highest earner because he, quite frankly, did deserve to be that person. So I do think it's a little bit harsh when we say that, because for me, I've gone beyond the manager. I don't think anyone who comes in has the structure behind them, and they're set to fail, in my opinion, because they're not going to get it's not. I know people have said that Arsenal do spend money, but guess what? We don't spend it right. And Edu and Arteta, when they came out in the summer and they clashed heads on their sort of philosophy or their sort of way they want to move forward in signings, that for me just stemmed everything that's happening at Arsenal Football Club, in a sense of they're not agreeing the same plan. Arteta's proposed a plan to them, and then Edu's gone against it, because guess what? Edu doesn't have that broad football connection, and he's more South American based. And that's part of, I think, many issues at this club. And for me, I don't think the manager's the key issue. I think it's to do with, I think Arteta's probably been bought in because he's a Barcelona man and obviously playing for, the likes of Cardiff and then going to Everton and then playing for us as well, and being a Pep Guardiola, second man. And, it's trying to bring that sort of La Masia structure over into Arsenal, but it's going to take years to do that. And that's another thought I thought, I wanted to kind of get people's engagement on. Is he someone that's trying to build this sort of youth structure to move us forward, or is it not going to happen?
The problem is, you've seen...
Sorry,
Gary, no, go on, Gary, go on.
Sorry. Yeah, because I hear what you're saying, but I know everybody, and I believe everybody either thought it or said it, that Arteta doesn't have the experience and may not get the players that he wants. So for me, if that's going to be the case, and that's going to be, a scenario that could come up possibly, because the trend that I've seen so far with the team is that, they might need $70 million in this transfer window. They get 40. They're never going to get what they need to create the movement to get them going in the right direction, because they're always going to get shorted, right? They're always getting shorted, not getting enough, right? So that's where I feel like if we're gonna, we've seen this. I don't know if it's gonna change. Like you said, are they gonna get $200 million to fix it? Because that's what it's gonna take, right? If they're not gonna get that, then will a manager of Arteta's experience be able to get them there? And that's where he may not be the right guy. But then also, you have the conflict within themselves, and you're like, all right, well, if they had somebody there that was managing this whole thing, would that be the case, right? Probably not, right? Because that's kind of what that's when you look at these big teams, they have a structure that's set up that all these types of things don't necessarily happen. Everybody's on the same page, and you get what you need. The coach says, I need this type of player. They go out and get that type of player if that's what they can do, right? And that's we don't have. I don't feel like we have that.
Now, Gary, you know what? Sorry, Gary, you make a good point, because I think Anna's going to say something, but I know people talk. You see, with Man City, right? I understand they've got money to get, but Gary kind of touched. They're a very, very well-run club, man. It's not just. People need to stop fixating on just the money aspect. They're a very well-run club. Very well-run club. Sorry,
they are now. Now. They weren't when he first came in. They were throwing money left, right, centre. But now I agree they are.
Yeah. And with the Arteta thing as well. Let's be honest. As I said, I've said it a million times before. We've been drip fed as Arsenal fans that we don't have any money to spend on players, right? We haven't got enough money to get managers. So Arteta was a cheaper option. Let's be honest. Like it's no disrespect to him, but he was. You're not going to turn around and say no. If Arsenal were offering you your first coaching job in football, I don't know many people are going to turn it down. Yeah. So yeah, it's a cheaper option, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to add one thing. So I'm going to head off in about 5 minutes, actually. But just following on from Gary's point, we've seen both models, right? We've had Wenger come in, and I think in the sense that we were quite lucky that he was successful pretty much straight away. Within kind of 18 months, 2 years, we won a league title. So we've seen both models, and I think, depending on what kind of age group you fit in, we've started to now see the other model of changing managers more regularly and seeing what happens. So, listen, my thought on it is whatever we do is a risk. It doesn't matter what we do. If we give Arteta 5 years' time, it might not work, and we might have wasted 5 years backing someone that maybe isn't the right man. We don't know that. He might be the right man. But in the same sense, we could keep continuing to change managers every 18 months, 2 years, buying players that the next manager is not going to want. So we're going to have a huge turnover in players, a huge turnover in managers, and we're just going to go round in circles. So whatever we do, none of us here know what the right answer is. None of us know what's going to happen. No one's who's right and who's wrong. So I think the problem is, and I'll touch on your point, Albert, is when you're in that situation, you have to rely on the people that are at the very top of the club. And at the moment, we cannot do that because, as Albert rightly said, you've got the biggest positions in the club that are also learning on the job. And that's unfortunately, it's a bit comical. It might work. Listen, Edu might turn out to be the best technical director the world has ever seen. We don't know. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that we find ourselves in a position where we just, and I think the club feel the same way, is that we don't know what the right option is. We don't know whether to stick with Arteta. And they probably said, look, let's give him 3 years maybe, and let's see what you can do. If he's not at a certain point after 3 years, we make that change. Or if we can see some real progression and we go from being top 6, maybe we're on the verge of top 4, maybe then you say, all right, maybe we'll give him another couple of years, and you play it like that. But I can sit here and talk all day about it, and I don't know what the right thing to do is, Do we stick with Arteta? I don't know. Do I like him? Yeah, I do. I like him because he's someone that's played for the club. I think even when you look back at when he left the club as a player, you could tell, I think we've probably all seen that final interview he gave. You could see that there was some real emotion there and there was a real connection with the club. So I don't have any doubts that he's got absolutely the best interest of the club at heart. And actually, I think he's smart enough in probably 18 months' time that if he feels he's not the right man for the job, he'll probably come out and say, look, I've given it my best. Maybe it came too soon. Maybe it was too big. And I think maybe he'll walk away. And obviously, I think as fans, and certainly me, I would have a huge amount of respect for someone doing that and not staying in the job longer than maybe they should do. So, well, listen, but for me, we'll just see how it plays out. We're not going to have success, not major success, certainly not the success that we've been used to in the next 4 or 5 years. And unfortunately, I do agree with Albert. I think it's going to take something very, very special for us to win a league trophy in the next 7 to 10 years. And that hurts saying that, man, because then you're looking at being the same length of time as Liverpool were before. We're 17 years in, and you got another 7 to 10 years. You're in the same boat as them.
Yeah.
Another huge traditional English club that are looking at 30 years without a league title. And that's
scary.
For me, yeah, it is scary. And 10 to 15 years ago, if someone had told me that, I'd have laughed at you. I'd never would have seen that coming. But yeah, for me, it all stems from moving the state. Because for me, I think if we'd have stayed at Highbury, I think Wenger's success would have continued. We wouldn't have to have sold all the best players that we had at the club, and maybe we would have continued to have been successful for a longer period of time under him. And it's so I don't know. The bottom line is I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what you guys want to hear. It's we just need to take it game by game, day by day, month by month, and just see what happens. Just hope that we see some progression, and if we do, then you back him. And I don't see any other option, because whatever we do, it's you're taking a risk. So we'll see. But listen, I'm gonna head off now, actually, mate, because I can hear my little boy crying upstairs, which is not ideal. So at 10:30 at night. So thank you so much for having me, Souls. I really appreciate being on the show. It's been really interesting, actually, because it's been quite a diverse set of opinions. Actually, normally we kind of all agree, but I think in some instances we maybe look through slightly different opinions. But it's
hey, that's Gooner thoughts for you, mate. It's never going to be the same.
But the thing is, it's all valid. It's all valid, and we're just having a discussion about what we think is best for the club. And listen, none of us know. One of us will probably be right. I haven't got a clue which one of us it is. Probably not me. But we'll see, boys. But listen, enjoy the rest of the show, and I'm sure I'll speak to you guys soon. All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Right, mate.
I just wanted to throw another one out there, and I wanted to kind of just talk about learning from Manchester United, because obviously they've gone kind of through a similar situation to what Arsenal are going through. American owners who, to a degree, don't care about their club as much either. Obviously, they've kind of done this where they've got David Moyes, an experienced manager, then going to, Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, and then, the one man you didn't expect to do so well. I'm not saying whether he's the right man for them either, in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I kind of just wanted to throw that kind of out, because they've done this where they've had multiple successful and experienced managers come into the job. And let's not forget, they were also relatively backed as well from the United board. So do we not need to now look at that and think, if we give, because I've always said we need to give whoever we want to give time to, we've got to give them time, and we've got to be patient, and we've got to understand that we could be sat 10th or we could be sat 15th, but we've got to understand that it's going to take time to build that squad, because that's obviously the main talking point when we talk about Arsenal. Is the squad good enough? And simply the answer is no, because the minute you start to take your sort of key players out of the game, we don't have anything to replace them with. But I kind of wanted to gauge your thoughts on this.
Sorry, boys. Do you mind if I just quickly? I'm just gonna give my 2 cents and then I'm gonna leave as well, because I think it's way past my time. Yeah, I think with Manchester United, it's it's probably, you can't get any more of a perfect club to compare the type of situation we're in. With Sir Alex Ferguson leaving, such a long-serving manager who has achieved so much under some brilliant players. I mean, you talk about some of the United sides of the time that he's been in charge there for, and David Beckham, Gary Neville, Rio Ferdinand, Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, the list goes on and on and on. And so for me, I look at that United sort of blueprint and I see exactly what they're trying to do. And they're trying to find another Sir Alex Ferguson where they can put them in a hot seat, hope that it works out, and try and build something, try and replicate something for the next 10, 15 years. Unfortunately, we've moved on from that era, and we're in an industry now where football has commercialized to such a large extent now, where it really is 12 to 18 months. Otherwise, we're constantly circulating. Managers are going into jobs expecting after 18, 21 months, 24 months later to be moving on to a new job. And so, I guess the question is to fans, what do you want? Do you want another long-term, slow project where it's going to start off quite rusty? It's going to start off quite bumpy, but then with some luck on the way, we might be able to replicate what Arsene Wenger gave us or what Sir Alex Ferguson gave us. Or do we jump on the bandwagon where everyone else is? You got the Cities, the Liverpools, even the Tottenhams to some extent, where circulating managers every 12 to 24 months to get that bounce. Because whenever a new manager comes in, it's inevitable. There is always going to be a bounce of good results. And then it starts to dip. And I guess you can separate the bad apples from the good ones by seeing who works out after that 24-month period. So yeah, I think United are a great example because they've had so many managers, so many top-notch managers, by the way, with so much experience, so much stature, who have come in and it hasn't worked because of different factors. Not given enough time, not given enough money, not given the right players, not playing the right system. These things take time to figure out, and it's easy to be really impatient because as fans we're sat here ready to be entertained. I'm begging Arsenal to score goals and win matches because I want to wake up the next morning smiling. I don't want to wake up the next morning with a frown on my face and my wife asking me, "Oh, did Arsenal lose again?" Do you know what I mean? And so yeah, look, that's it really. You have the two options there. You go for someone, and I think right now we're in a stage where you can't really complain. Arteta's in the job. Just get on with it. If you had asked everyone at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of his appointment, how did you feel? I, for one, was absolutely outraged. What do you mean Mikel Arteta is our manager? Someone with no managerial experience. Are you kidding me? To come to a club like Arsenal Football Club, you're forgetting the team who won the league undefeated, and you're giving the job to him. Outrage. But he's in the job now. There's nothing more we can do about it than try and work around it and try and see whether it's going to work out in the long run, or we adopt to a different model where we get someone with bags of experience, bags of talent, get them to give us that bounce, give us that boost, and then 12 to 24 months later, if it's not working, we then recycle and get someone else in. But yeah, that's just my little piece on it. Souls, thanks again for having me. Boys, this has been a really, it's been a pleasure to be sitting here and chatting to you guys, having some really insightful conversations. Hopefully we get to do it again. But yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I just have to say, there are really good ideas out there, and we should sit back and wait, and then see how it pans out. My main concern is the concern of everybody is who's running this thing, right? Do they even know what they're doing? And that's that's the big problem, right? Arteta could be the right person in the right situation, but this isn't the situation where you bring an Arteta in. So if you're going to bring him in, if you're not going to throw it at the players, at least throw it at your infrastructure, right? So make sure that Arteta has he should have the best assistants sitting next to him. He doesn't. He should have the best recruitment people. He doesn't. He should have the best football people. He doesn't. That's not going to cost you $200 million, right? So Yeah. So I mean, so for me, it's like you can't change everyone, but you can change 1, 2, or 3, things depending on how much money you want to spend, and that's where it's sometimes easier to say, okay, Arteta might have to go, but I understand we have to wait. But if we're going to wait, at least build a infrastructure that is solid, that lasts longer, right? We talked about Wenger when he came in. He made all these changes nobody even thought about, as far as football, how football clubs are run. Because of his experiences in the past, he saw something that was working. I think it was in Asia, and he liked it, and he kind of brought that some of that stuff to Arsenal, right? I was listening to his book, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. But he brought those things, one, because he experienced it, and also because he had been doing it for a while, so he knew kind of how he could make it work for him. And that's what we don't have. We don't have that. Who's that one person? Maybe it's not Arteta, but tell me somebody else who can make decisions to make the team, the football club, better. We don't have that one person, I think. I mean, we always talk about Overmars coming in and maybe he can help out, but they need somebody with that, somebody who's done it well. They need something, and that's not big money in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about players for 50 million. I mean, I'll leave it at that. The one thing that, I was listening to James Rowe multiple times, and he said this: what team, if we were a top 4 team and we had, how many center backs did we have going into the season? Like 6, 7, 8, right? We had like 8, right? What team at that point looks at their roster and looks at their squad and goes, you know what? We're going to bring in another center back. And then we're going to have another one sit and do nothing. They wouldn't do that, right? You just wasted, you just spent money on center backs you already have. You're not selling them because you can't do that. And then you buy one. Yeah, Gabriel worked out. But you know what? If you look at where we are now, if Marie, I guess the problem is Marie wasn't healthy, and that's kind of the linchpin of this thing. We didn't have, if Marie was healthy, we'd probably be maybe a little bit better, but at least we wouldn't have had to take the resources to fix our midfield and put it in a center back. We have, with our center backs that, we had so many of them. So, and that's kind of like, I mean, I don't think we're going to do that again, hopefully, but that's like one of those things where, we're not being managed correctly, and that's why it's, you have to look at these.
Sorry, Gooner, sorry, Anthony. I was going to follow up what Gary said. Gary makes such a good point. I'm sorry, because when I look at the centre-back situation at Arsenal, and this just baffles me. What's the plan in here? Like, you have Arsenal fans on Twitter, for example, that argue the toss day in, day out. This player's a good squad player. We need to keep this player for backup. We've got 200 centre-backs at the club. Like, what's the plan in here? And I'll tell you what, I said in January, right? The one signing we should make, boys, right? Throw whatever money you have to throw at it. Go and search whatever country you have to go and search. Bring in the best medical team you can find in the planet, because this is a huge problem, and I'm getting tired of it with the injuries. It's terrible. Simon and Russell mentioned it in the chat. I've never seen this at a football club before in my life.
Wasn't there a guy that we bought in? I cannot for the day of me remember his name, and then he literally left like the season later, saying that there was absolute just shambolic what was going on at Arsenal. But I just can't remember the guy's name.
Was that the Australian guy? He was like a fitness coach?
Yeah.
Oh, Darren Burgess.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And even years before that, we got one top fitness coach who was worked with the German national team. He didn't last very long.
You know what, Albert? I don't even know if it's an issue with our medical team. It could be an issue with the mentality around the club. Maybe we're just a bit too. Maybe the players aren't as badly injured as we're led to believe they are. Maybe we're just too cautious. Maybe, like, I've heard it in the past, like going back to the Van Persie days. I've said this on a few different panels as well, about the story of Van Persie, being injured for Arsenal, but then going off to the Dutch national side, and the Dutch medical team coming out and saying there's nothing wrong with him. Arsenal are just too cautious. They said as soon as a player gets a knock, they're saying, "I'll take 2 weeks out. Don't do any physical work." Maybe that's still in and around the club. Like, we know there's been a lot of changes in and around the back, but like do we know if there's? I know is Lewin gone and that, and maybe there's a couple of different physios and that, but
bring him back, because I this never happened when he was there. I don't care what anyone tells me.
Yeah, but I know, but definitely look, the like I said, it's easy to point the finger at the guy who's standing on the sideline on match day, but yeah, there's so much more wrong at this club on every single level. Like, you could probably walk into the canteen and decide that you need to change the chef. Like, everything is just
Anthony,
maybe we bring.
Sorry, goodness. But the thing is, they say that Arteta's coaching setup, right? They say it's experienced.
Maybe we need to bring Ibrahimovic to fire that catering staff, like he did at PSG. But what I am going to say is, because obviously it has gone, and I think we've had a lot of thoughts. We will always make part 2s later on in the season. But what I want people to do now is just your final, because I've always had this at the end of each episode. I always let you do a final thoughts, where you kind of yourself wrap everything up and maybe just pointers, I guess, for the fans to maybe think about, or just to kind of get your point across in a different way. But I'll start off with you, Anthony. What's your kind of final thoughts on?
Yeah, basically, final thoughts. Look, Albert, you said you don't see us being competitive sort of in the next 10 years or so, and I do agree. And I think for that to happen, there's got to be an awful lot of change, an awful lot of work needs to be done behind the scenes. It has to start from the top, and that's my main concern. But I think, yeah, even with Arteta doing the work he's doing, and I can see what he's trying to do, and I can see the good in the work he's trying to do. Even at that, I still believe that, with the overall setup and how the club is run, I still do believe, even with the good work he's doing, we're probably still about 10 years off being competitive. I just basically, final thought is, we can keep on scrapping it every single season and starting again. But I just believe that, it's time for us to actually have a bit of structure and a bit of a plan. Ultimately, it might not work out. It might be the thing that sets us back. But I just think if we keep scrapping it every single season, how are we supposed to make any strides forward? We need to lay a few blocks before we, have our wall built, kind of thing. You can't keep taking bricks out of the wall and expecting it to stay up. You've got to build something and go with it. And as I said, look, it could be the third or fourth appointment that is the one that clicks for you. But I just think we got to start building here. We have a bit of a blueprint. We got to work with it. See the project through until the end. Look, I think Arteta has a contract of 2023. It's not very, very far away. And I know we're already waiting 17 odd years, and every year is another on top. But like, in the grand scheme of things, and the grand scheme of what the job is, 2022, 2023, let's see where we're at then, and then maybe we can reassess. But I just think, look, see a project through. I don't want to be a Chelsea that tears it down at the first sign of it not going right. And to be honest, look, we don't have the same setup as Chelsea, so I think we have to be a bit more patient than Chelsea. Abramovich is throwing a lot of money at it, so it's obviously his expectations are going to be different. He's not going to have the same patience as a Stan Kroenke, who's not really offering anything. So he's obviously going to be willing to wait a little bit longer. And I think as fans, we should be a bit more understandable. If Arteta had done a Frank Lampard this season and spent the money he spent and brought in the players that he brought in, I think, then we could sit there and go, yeah, this isn't working. But yeah, that's my final thought.
Amateur hour. I was muted. What I'll do is I'll move on to Gary now to have his sort of wrap up and final thoughts.
Yep. All right. So I enjoyed this conversation because it we kind of talk about things that we all hope come true as far as Arsenal getting back to where it needs to be. I mean, these are discussions we have, off the field, but once the team gets on the field, we're all on the same page, and that's the one good thing about this is that they play every week or twice a week per se, but we get to enjoy that. So, like I said, it's a big job, and I'm hoping that something drastic has to happen, be it a new owner, be it they just revamp the entire structure. They do go out there and they spend the money, but something big has to happen, because I kind of feel like if the intent of this whole thing was to make money, you're going about it you're all wrong, Stan. Right? If Stan's purpose was to make more money, then he's devaluing, just like we devalue some of our players before we sell them. He's devaluing his club because now they're not going to be able to. I think you get paid based on your level in the table, right? There's different levels, not a big chunk, but jumping one level, one spot in the table is extra money in the bank, and whether you use it for players or not, that's up to you. But you're hurting yourself. Stan's looking at this, and like in the NFL, they are limited. They have the salary cap. They get a certain amount of money from the TV dollars. You don't have to have a successful team to be a successful businessman. There's a lot of money on the line, depending on if you finish 16th or whether you finish first and win a European trophy. There's tons of money involved in all of that, and that's kind of what you want to do, right? So, yeah, he's going about it all wrong. If this is what his intent was to make money, he can make a lot more money, but maybe he's content, which would be sad. So hopefully, he's ambitious and he wants to do well and not be known for the guy that, he tainted some of the history for Arsenal and then he left, right? So hopefully that changes. So like I said, I'm hoping that there is somebody that comes in to make a change, be it a player, a coach, somebody, recruiting, football operations owner, whatever it is, but there's going to have to be something, I think, to make a splash because we need it. So, come on, you Gunners, let's go. So, yeah, that's it. That's how I like to end it.
No, definitely no. A lot of positive and balanced arguments there as well. And then obviously, finally, we'll go to Albert just to have his final thoughts and wrap up.
Yeah. Firstly, thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure. I mean, there's so many ways I can answer this question. It's a good question, man. What I will say is I hear a lot of, not necessarily tonight, guys, but you guys see it, Twitter, Instagram, whatever journalists they talk about time. That's fine, but the problem is we've wasted a lot of time. And when I say that, I'm going to mention in regards to Arsene Wenger's latter years. In particular, everyone's got their own opinion when he should have gone. Listen, there's some Arsenal fans that would have Wenger here till he's 150. They would. They would. You can't do no wrong. They wanted Emery to fail. A lot of them. They won't admit it, but they did. The problem is when we played that cup final against Hull in 2014, right? I said it at the time. I said it numerous times. I'll say it to you guys on the panel. Irrespective of that result that day, that is the day he should have been moved on. That's 7 years ago. That a lot can be done in 7 years, man. Do you know how many players you can get rid of in 7 years? Do you know how many players you can bring in 7 years? Do you know how many boardroom staff and backroom staff you can bring in 7 years? We've wasted a lot of time, man. So for those that the whole Arteta out thing, you do what you want to do. I can't bother. But the foundations have been put in place way before him in a negative way. We've wasted 7 years, guys, man. And that's why I make the reference to Liverpool. Liverpool had some fantastic footballers, managers. Took them a long time to get over the line. That's why I said the whole 10-year thing, because I can't see it happening. And I'm just gonna repeat what I said in part of the show, mate. And I said we can talk about leadership in terms of captaincy. We can talk about leaders on the pitch, with your centre backs, your midfield players, your strikers, whatever. It comes from the top, man. And your main guy is Stan Kroenke. But he's got no personal investment towards this club. And that's a huge problem, man. You can have money, but love something. So what I will say is, to finish up, for the guys that, with the whole Aliko Dangote links, right? I'm Nigerian origin, right? So I'm going to tell you straight. It's the 7 words I always use. I believe it when I see it. He many years ago, he wanted to buy shares in 2010, I think it was. They recycle the same thing every year, every 2 years. It's the same thing. Stan Kroenke turned down 1.5 billion from Usmanov a few years ago. 1.5 billion. Man said it's not enough. Don't believe the Aliko Dangote links. Take that with a pinch of salt. I know Arsenal fans will cling on to it because we want Kroenke out and we want somebody in. Just listen, like I said, we'll believe it when we see it, man. It's going to be a bumpy road, man. But what can we do?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, obviously, the conversation has been great, and obviously, a lot of points have been raised in terms of just from the top to bottom of what needs to be changed or what needs to be done. Like a lot of people said, look, it's the discussion that needs to be had, because I think when the fan base is this toxic, it's about calming it down and understanding it to a level that's a bit more reasonable, because it's all good and fun, going for each other and causing this drama because you're Arteta in or you're Arteta out or you're Crunky in or you're Crunky out. At the end of the day, look, what unites us and what bonds us together is the love for the sport and the love for the club. I've always said an opinion's an opinion, but don't let the love be lost, because when we're at the Emirates, what we do, we're chanting one thing. We're chanting the boys in red, or if we're away, we're chanting the boys in white, or blue, depending on, obviously what kit we're wearing. So let's not, bash people for the opinions they have, and let's instead look for the love within each other, because that, at the end of the day, will motivate those players on the pitch. When they come on Twitter and see the abuse and see the fan base split, that's not going to mentally, make them more positive or make them more driven. It's going to do quite the opposite. So for us, we're quite lucky that we're not in the stadiums, and we're quite unlucky as well, because the fans can be the 12th man, but they can also be the reason why you're playing like an 8-man team, because of the abuse, because of the sheer, volume of abuse we can do and we have done in stadiums to certain players. But what I am going to do is I'm going to allow the people on the panel to just shout out their channels, where you can find them, and what we can potentially look forward to, or what kind of content they do. Anthony, take it away.
Yeah, first of all, Souls, I really, really enjoyed this. And I want to give a shout out to Gary and Albert as well. Like, we don't always share the exact same mindset and the same, we have little things that we don't quite agree on. But look, it's constructive. You say your piece, we say our piece, and I completely respect your opinions and take on board your point of view, and I know that you give me back the same, and kind of like what Souls was saying, look, at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. We don't share the same mindsets towards a lot of things, but look, we're all on the same side, and you just can't beat being on a panel with people like this. It makes a big difference. So I really did enjoy it. But look, you can find me at Republic of Arsenal. I'm sorry, Souls, I didn't get too wound up here tonight. I didn't give you that Conor McGregor moment, but I promise it's coming. See, do you know what the main problem is, right? The main problem is I'm sitting here, I'm sipping on water. I need to switch off that proper 12 whiskey, and maybe I'll go on a mad one some night.
I'll get him to send you some.
I'll give you what you want. I have to be careful. I'm sitting in my daughter's bedroom, so I don't want to put my foot through the TV or anything like that, or she'll kill me. So look, it'll happen. So check out Republic of Arsenal. You'll see someday. I'll go full McGregor for you. But no, big ups to us.
No, thank you very much. And then obviously we've got the man who seems to be like a package deal with myself. Gary, go on. Where can we find you and what can we expect?
All right. Yeah. So as you can see below, really below my face, DWTT is my YouTube channel. My 5 is my segment that goes out after every game. I'm also on Arsenal Fan Circle. I do that 2 times a week. So you'll see me there, or Mr. Arsenal podcast for their watch-alongs. So that's where I'm at. Twitter handles there as well. Once again, Sauls, thanks for getting it. The one time I said, no, I don't think I can make your show, I kind of sat and watched it, and I was like, oh man, I wish I was on it. So just know that, when I say no, it hurts. It pains me a little bit, because I really want to be on. I've had a lot of fun being on these shows, meeting new, I've meeting some new people. These are some old people that I've seen before, but meeting new people and talking about new things, not talking necessarily about X's and O's and goals and assists and stuff. So that's been pretty good about these discussions. So I enjoy that. Look forward to doing more. Thank you, everyone.
No worries. We'll definitely be getting obviously more shows together. Like I said, now that uni's pretty much over, I've got a few bits and bobs to do. It's just full stream ahead now. And also, you know, like I said, the man, the myth, the legend, you know, the man that needs no introduction. If you don't know, get to know. Albert, take it away.
Yeah, in fact, big up the guys in the chat, by the way, and big up the panel, man. Absolutely. Actually, you know, it's nice to actually share a platform with Gary. Gary, I need to get you on my show, man, definitely. But no, pleasure, Souls. Listen, I wanted to sort of collab with you. I need to get you on my channel as well, man. Absolutely. You're doing well, man. Like, just keep being you, just be authentic, be yourself, man. I see a lot of fake shit, pardon the language, on the YouTube scene. I see you right through it, man. But yeah, just keep it real. And Anthony, love you to bits. Gary, my guy, man. So, but yeah, AlbertJTV, very easy to find. Content wise, what's coming up? Oh god, I'm doing my second episode of Life Stories on Saturday. Gonna be addressing a certain issue in particular. So people, please stay tuned because I feel quite strongly about it. Yeah, YouTube content creators, but that's all I'll say. But yeah, AUMO57 is the Twitter handle. Come and subscribe to my Arsenal brothers as well, man. My guy Gunnar Since, Gary and Anthony. Please do, guys.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, obviously everyone's socials and everywhere you can find them is all in the description below. And like I said at the beginning, you know, this month especially going forward, and obviously around the 13th of April, for us Muslims anyway, Ramadan is starting. And it's a month for giving, so I'm going to be starting a little bit earlier. So hopefully by the time Eid comes about, I can get a pot of money together, you know, through the content, through the channel. And who knew, you know, I'd have a certain somebody, but I'm not going to spoil it now. I think people know, and I think I've spoken about it enough. But yeah, that's another thing, guys. Get your videos and get your suggestions, even on the panel, guys. Come on, comment on that tweet and let me know what you want to see Kevin, you know, what do you want to see Campbell do? Because I'll make him do it. You know, I'll be relentless. He'll have to get a restraining order if he needs to. But, you know, but yeah, no, guys, but absolutely thank you very much, everyone, you know, for the support, for everything. Obviously, I can't thank people enough, you know, even if I tried to. But like, you know, like Albert said, like, you know, Gary said and Anthony said, it's about just being real and following your dreams at the end of the day, you know. Who knew being a fan, you know, 10 years ago would make you a career or make you a living? I don't think anyone did. So, guys, you know what? Like, I've always said, it's, you know, the negativity within football at the moment is at an all-time high. And I think everyone on this panel, everyone that's come on the channel before, we're all trying to fight that, you know, we're all trying to fight that cause of, you know, trying to get this to be a bit more positive. You know, we can all have difference of opinions, but don't let that be, you know, the downfall to you, because that's not how your parents raise you. That's not how your kids want to look at you. And look and think about it, right? When you're on the internet, that's there forever. You know, everything we do always has a copy. You know, someone will have it. So just think about what you're doing and be someone you want to be proud of. But I will end it there. But again, thank you, everyone in the comments, everyone on Twitter, everyone who supported me on this journey so far, because it's only getting, you know, this has just started. The revolution has started. I do want Anthony to say what I'm about to say, so I'm going to let him say it.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
Yeah, get to know if you don't know. But this has been Gooner Thoughts. This has been Gooner Souls. And this has been the panel. Go subscribe, like, and share on everyone's videos. And guess what, guys? Let them know that I've sent you to send some love to these people. And this has been an absolute fantastic episode. Thank you very much, everyone. This is going to be the end.